I'm going to show you how to put an artificial head on. And pretty much, that head looks a little bit, sometimes the heads look a little bit little for the body anyway. So I just got an artificial one that I'm going to put on that's going to look better. And it's an old fish, and I'm going to try to restore it, or I will restore it, and make it a good looking fish. It's a big old brown trout. And I've got multiple ones that I'm going to do. I'm going to paint more than one fish at a time, but that's going to be later. But I'm going to strip the fish, which I show basically how to do that. You just put stripper on it, let it sit, and just get it off with a toothbrush, lacquer thinner, and clean your fish up and get all the grit off. But we're going to put an artificial head on, and this one's slightly bigger, so I think it's going to look a little bit better. This head, it's a little bit more anatomically correct. And you just buy them through the taxidermy catalog. They've got a good selection nowadays, and I think they used to use alginate in these original heads, which is a good option still, but they've got so many good heads now on the market. A lot of times you can find one that matches really good. So we're just going to put this one in place of that and do a good job with it. Okay, now basically we do whatever we got to do depending on the mount. Some of them are full of concrete all up in here, which is very hard. Some are full of styrofoam. Just whatever you got to do to get the head off. Some of them even have, I've seen some screws shot in them, so you had to do a lot of stuff like that to get that out. This head could be saved, I guess, possibly, although I've seen better heads, but just whatever you do, just use a little judgment there and do whatever you got to do to get it off. Saw, whatever you got to do. It looks like foam. A lot better than concrete or whatever else they use for head material. The gills depends on your, I guess, your fish, whether you want or even need gills in it. A lot of the gill flaps poke really close to the body on a lot of these trout, and it's not even really a necessity, really. Now this is all this foam. I got an easy one. Close to the head as you can get. A lot of times you got to cut that skin around the gills and stuff. You're cutting a lot of the connective bone, I guess is the right word. After you get it so far, you should be able to manhandle it and just break it off. This head's going to go. So all that's got to be dug out, which is pretty cool because it's already empty pretty much. But a lot of this material down here is going to come out. I may leave this up here, that foam. Basically, I'm going to work on it until I get the head where it can be like this. Use whatever you need, Dremel tools or whatever you got to have. I think you'd be doing okay just with these shears. So that's basically how you get a head to fit. You cut at it. And you're happy with what you got. You just fit it. Trial and error, just keep putting it on until it meshes up right here. So that expanding foam has a lot of usages in taxidermy. You know that stuff you get for insulation? But if you get some, you know, that extra expanding stuff, it may not be all that good because it keeps on trying to expand for a long time. I'll show you an example of one that's been expanding, and I'll show you real quick. Yep, if you use that extra expanding foam, it keeps on trying to expand, and you can see that bluegill is like very, very filled out. That was a plastic replica, and I use expanding foam on the back, and you can tell it keeps on growing. I've whittled it down and it keeps on growing. I'll come back in another month and it'll still be expanding a little bit. So I just figured I'd let you know, if you use any, maybe the regular expanding might be a lot better, because you can definitely tell the difference. I mean, it's like, hold on. Yeah, you can tell it's like super, super fat, more than what it should be. And it just keeps on expanding. Liking that pretty good. Well, here's what I come up with. Just used a little bit of glue, a little hot glue. Some people use Bondo or whatever you got on hand. Just adhere the face good. Just make sure you get good measurements, or your head won't ever like really fit right or whatever. I like to use caulk. Caulk shrinks, but it's a good filler. You may have to go over it more than once sometimes. You can use epoxy sculpt and stuff like that, sculpt all and all that, and it doesn't shrink as much either. And if you had to do a fish like real fast, that would probably be the best way to do it. Like spray a little water on there, maybe a lot of times I use my fingers and smoothing it out, just to make a good little transition there. Make it nice and flush. You don't want no gaps separating the head from the body, in other words. And I can use a popsicle stick to even do a little bit better work. Now, something else I like to use, piece of cardboard. I'll get like a piece of cardboard or something, and I want like a rough edge. I like it tore, and then I'll wet it and let that really soak in, and it softens everything up where I can do a better job, and I guess is the right word. Seems like it just, and you definitely want to look at the profile of the fish and make sure you got it right. Got like a little razor blade here. X-Acto knife would have been good. Well, here's kind of what I got. I'm going to let it dry, and then I can go over it again with a little bit more caulk. I've got fast drying caulk, so I'm thinking about 4 hours I can even go over it again. or less. But there again, epoxy sculpt would be a lot faster. And I've still got gullet work to do, but I'm going to wait until that dries and I'll show you what I do next. Okay, now we're going to do the gullet area real quick, and we'll touch up there. It depends on how good of a job you do, you know, before you install the head, you know, pre-fitting occasionally, so you don't whittle out too much and make your job a little bit harder. Okay, what I've done here is basically just try to match the gullet up with the gills and to give it a natural look. Depending on how good of a fit the head was determines on how much body work you got to do. And just using latex caulk. Okay, here I put some caulk on a Q-tip. And I'm going to go ahead and put the teeth. You can see where the teeth went on the original fish. And just put some teeth on there, you know, down so far. It's too much. And they probably don't need to be too big. You'll do a much better job than this. I'm having to deal with water and you just keep messing with it like that until you get what you want. Okay, now I got my little eyeball. Made sure it was a brown trout eyeball, and depending on how deep you want it to sink, you know, sometimes you can just use caulk on the back of the eye and then put a little caulk around the eye to smoothen it in. But in this particular case, I opted for a little bit of glue in there. Look at the pupil kind of pointing up towards the nostril or the tip of the lip. It just seems to look really good. And so I do that, and then, you know, push in with my eye, and that's our finished product. And then what I do, but I'll go around these back sides and make it look, you don't want any gaps or anything, so I'll put a little bit of caulk around there. And it don't take much. I'll just get a little. There again, it depends on your situation, how good your eye fits. But in my case, I'll just a little caulk there. And basically just, you know, you want it to look a fit. You don't want to look like there's a gap there much, really. And I guess you can use your finger a little bit. Wet my Q-tip, bring my eye back out, and see what I got. But you know how much, put too much too. Now we'll let all this dry and start painting the fish. Well, if you can kind of see how I transitioned, you know, using latex caulk, how I transitioned, you know, with the artificial head and the gullet area. Here's one fish, and you can see how that was done. And here's more gullet work. It's just pretty much when you use artificial heads, you know, that's a lot of times what you do. And here's a bass with an artificial head. You can see how I blended the top of the back with the top of the head, and even drew in some details that I'm going to darken later. So that is just what you got to do when you install artificial heads. Oh, and different people use different techniques for doing the back of their fish that doesn't show very good. This was an old mount that I'm redoing. Looks like it's hard like concrete. But I've seen people use Bondo. I tend to use latex caulk. I have used paper towels. And what you do, you cut out an outline. I think I maybe even explained it in one of my other videos. But you cut an outline of the seam with a paper towel, and you want to make the paper towel long, or you know, a little bit wider, so it covers the seams real good. And then you just contact cement one side of it, and use contact cement on the fish as well. And then you place that paper towel on there, and you can still caulk the seams where the skin ends, and you know, if you stretch the body a little bit and you've got a gap back there, I usually just use latex caulk and let it dry real good, and then I'm done with it. Yeah, this guy used a little bit of Bondo, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably go through here and go through the top up here with a little bit of caulk and try to smoothen it out where it looks really good in the back, and I may even color it as well. And I may even go up to the stick with it on both sides with the caulking. Here's a bass I painted in a previous video, and I'll show you how I done the back on it. Yep, I just used caulk, tried to cover up my seam, and of course that's where the stick was at. That's probably where it would get attached to the wood. But you can see it kind of made it look like part of the body there, and that was just latex caulk. So that's what I tend to use. It's a shortcut, works good for me.